Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
The gang is back together.
Absolutely.
All is right in the world.
Yeah.
I've missed this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, it's entirely within your gift to make this happen more often.
I love you guys.
Act like
Why are you laughing? I mean that.
Because it was a nice, sincere thing to say.
And traditionally, the response to sincerity is mockery,
It's embarrassment.
as is British tradition.
Well, you don't like British traditions, do you? As we've just discussed.
Yeah. What other industry are you railing against these days?
What are you
choice
not
of verb.
buying British?
You are doing down British porn stars.
I wouldn't say doing down.
You're making light of the tens of thousands of pounds they probably bring to the British economy.
Do you want to do PMQs?
Well, do you not want to get your point across?
No, that's why I made it before we started the podcast.
You don't want to get your thoughts on pornography on public record.
Well, I guess we were talking about you at the British Porn Awards.
Yeah.
And I said that
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
the award that you picked up.
What did you win?
Best newcomer.
Great. That was
it.
I actually
Big
won
what?
an award as well.
big what?
Biggest arse was the next one.
I won the being recognised by a man in public and their girlfriend saying, "Oh, do you know her from porn?" That award. That's the one I won.
That was a tough category.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess implicit in your offence at that remark is my assertion that British porn is a bit village.
I suppose
It's just low rent. Do you know what I mean?
presumably all the good ones go to America.
Do you think it's like the UFC and that there are like feeder fight promotions and organisations that the UFC recruits out of, and so the great American porn houses are like talent scouting British manufacturers?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's globalization
What
again.
do you think it's like when model scouts used to go to Russia to find the next big supermodel?
Yeah, except they're lurking on British porn sets.
But what's
I can't for the life of me understand why no one would want to listen to this politics podcast.
I suppose it is like, instead of going to like the Milan catwalk, it's like the Rochester catwalk.
But is it? Is there much of a difference really between what is it like between sets or plotline? What's
the
the big
production.
difference?
The
between,
acting is far less compelling.
in Britain.
It's just not as believable.
Is it because you're like, I've been with many British women and they don't act like this. They just lie there.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with the can of worms.
We could do the first clip.
Yeah.
Would you be a...
Speaking of screamers, here's Alex Burkhardt.
Roll the clip.
First, we had above inflation pay rises for the unions. Yep. Then we had a budget which the OBR said was going to push up inflation. Yep. This morning, we had city economists, real economists, Mr. Speaker, saying that next year inflation would hit 3%. Does the Right Honourable Lady agree that this government's decisions mean higher inflation for working people?
Mr. Speaker, I'll ask the honourable gentleman, 11.1% or 3%?
We've already talked about Ukraine, Mr. Speaker. It was Ukraine and COVID that drove up inflation. This government is doing it to the British people. High tax, high inflation, low growth, low reform. There's a word for that, Mr. Speaker. It's Starmerism.
He's getting fast and loose with that microphone, do you not think?
Our guy, Burkhardt.
He's getting a bit close.
Going to town on it like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes. American, of course.
I have
Premium.
I have a question.
Can we turn the speaker down?
Yeah,
behind
can we
me?
do that?
That's a question I'd ask. Thank you, guys. Oh, no, it's just going to...
Still there?
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's manageable.
I have a question. Who is that man?
It's fucking the guy from River Cottage, isn't it?
Well, he was PPS to Boris Johnson during Partygate. And then he was a minister under...
I believe he was the Minister for Growth, Ava.
He was. That's
so-
why he was moving really close to that small microphone.
Because he was trying to grow it using the tricks that he learned in the ministry.
It's a porn joke, Ed.
So he knows about growth then? What do you make of Angela Rayner being like, well, yeah, inflation's 3%, but it was 11% under you. No. Inflation at 3% is not good, is it?
Well, no, because as we know, inflation is, you know, the well, shut up. I can't remember what I was going to say. No, that's not good at all. I thought it was quite a good clapback. But in terms of like what it actually means to the British people, it's not great, is it?
He was shouting into the mic a lot during this PMQs.
Yeah, kind of limited. It kind of cut out a little bit as if he'd reached the threshold that the parliamentary audio equipment could withstand.
Do you know online when we say things like, oh, rent was due when someone gives like a big performance? I think that's what's happened here. Rent was due.
I suppose it was he was auditioning to continue the role because Kemi Badenoch's not appointing a deputy leader. They're cycling through.
Yeah, can you explain that? What like this pop idol PMQs is?
So when Starmer was leader of the opposition, you would always have deputy leader of Labour Party, Angela Rayner, deputised for him in when a prime minister was absent. Rayner would fill in. But Badenoch's having a rotating cast, using all the favourites of the Conservative Party to fill in. And the first one, the household name Alex Burghart. People were clamouring for Burghart out in the streets. Burghart.
Dare I say he was better than Kemi Badenoch?
Yeah, of course you can. He was better. He was way better.
Do you think so?
Yeah. I think he was more... You could see... You could relate to his arguments more. I think Kemi's picked some issues that most people aren't that fussed by, or she didn't quite align with the public's view on things. I think he went more with some more popular sentiments, I would say.
Yeah, I think that Kemi goes for the Telegraph editorial, whereas Alex was going for the Sun.
Yeah. I think it's probably fair.
I wasn't particularly impressed with either of their contributions, at Rayner or Burghart. Has to be said. I thought they were both quite stilted. I thought his amdram, like shouting at the mic, was bad.
The Starmerism thing, I think it's coming up.
Starmerism.
That's
Yeah, and I thought Rayner was a little bit. She was sort of. She was reading off her notes, and she was struggling to like read them in a like compelling. It didn't sound believable. You know, if you were just hearing it as people listening to the pod will only hear it, or if you're on the radio or whatever it was, it was a bit like bitty. It was stilted. It didn't strike me as a great bit of political oratory.
No.
Or theatre.
it wasn't fluent.
I'm
No,
not sure I
that's
agree
it.
with you at all, actually. I thought she was...
What was your view?
I actually thought she was... I think she's transitioning into a different role. She's always sort of been... I'm going to say something and someone will willfully misinterpret this, but she's always taken the role of like sort of Keir Starmer's working class appendage. She's always been like I'm the woman of the people. I'm going to talk to you in layman's terms. And she's transitioning into deputy leader role and whatever she thinks that should be. So it's a bit more statesman-like, dare I say it. And I think that this is the beginning of that transition. I thought she handled it very well, actually.
I think she neutralised his anger. He went big. She did not match that, and it kind of undercut him, kind of took the wind out of his sails slightly. If he's screaming about Starmerism, and she's just like, right then. It's quite effective.
She goes, after that display. I mean, can you imagine if you're heated, you're impassioned, and then someone describes you as putting on a display?
Yeah.
Seppuku, no? What is it?
Seppuku. That's when like a samurai commits suicide out of dishonor.
That's what I meant.
Do you think he's going to grab the mace and try that?
What? Sorry, flame out. So embarrassed by Rayner is he he grabs the mace and runs off.
What genre of porn is that where you grab the mace?
British. British. Yeah. No, I just didn't find her very convincing, to be honest with you. I thought, the zingers kind of felt a bit jilted. I didn't think it was a great bit of communication, to be honest with you. That's how I felt about it.
Shall we have the next clip?
Yeah, let's have the next clip.
Yesterday, like many honourable members on this side of the House, I spoke to farmers from across the United Kingdom. Some of them families who farmed their land for centuries, elderly men in tears, children worried about their parents, all of them worried that their way of life is about to be destroyed. What would the Right Honourable Lady like to say to them?
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, we are absolutely committed to our British farmers, and that's why we've committed £5 billion to the farming budget over the next 2 years. That's the largest ever amount for sustainable food production in the UK. And it's alongside £60 million, Mr. Speaker, to support those affected by extreme wet weather, and over £200 million to tackle disease outbreaks. His party couldn't even get the money out the door for farmers, failing to spend over £300 million on farming budgets. The farmers know they ruined it for them, and that's why we're in government and they're not.
Well, perhaps the Right Honourable Lady thinks that everyone came to London yesterday to thank the government. Let's look at the facts. A typical mid-sized 360-acre family farm in the constituency of my Right Honourable friend for Thirsk and Moulton. They've spoken to their accountant. Their new liability because of this government is £500,000. That's 12 years' worth of profit. When this generation passes away, that farm will become totally unviable, and it's just one of thousands and thousands of similar farms. It's clear the government hasn't got its facts right. The Central Association for Agricultural Valuers, the real experts in this field, say so. The NFU says so. They're shortly to publish a report showing that 75% of all commercial farms will fall above the threshold. If the government isn't going to reverse this terrible policy, will the Right Honourable Lady at least commit that there will be no further increases to inheritance tax and no further reductions to agricultural property relief or business property relief in this Parliament?
Well, Mr. Speaker, he talks about the facts, and I absolutely stand by the figures the government has set out. And the vast majority of estate owners will be totally unaffected. He wants to talk about the figures, Mr. Speaker. I will be crystal clear. The vast majority of estate owners will see no change and pay no tax on land passed on valued at £1 million. Couples can pass on £3 million, Mr. Speaker, tax-free, and those above the thresholds will pay only half the normal rate and can pay over 10 years interest-free.
This is just another part of the budget that's unravelling, Mr. Speaker. Everyone here and all the farmers at home will have heard there was no guarantee there. We know what that means. They're coming back from...
Rachel Reeves and Lucy Powell are wearing the exact same thing.
I can only see their shoulders from here, but the colour similarity is striking. A royal blue.
Quite a conservative outfit.
The world's turned upside down. Ava, Alex Burkhart there, leading with, well, not leading, but spending 3 of his questions at PMQs today, getting into the protest yesterday. You were obviously there. You were on the ground. Is he fairly representing the claims of the farmers? What did you hear when you were there yesterday?
I actually think I'm more interested in what Angela Rayner had to say, that the vast majority of farmers won't be affected, because there's a discrepancy between what DEFRA say and what the Treasury say. DEFRA say that it could be up to 3/4 of farms that will be affected, whereas the Treasury says it's closer to 22%. That's a very interesting counter brief between the two departments. Yesterday, this was spoken about widely, and it was cross-party. We spoke to Liberal Democrats. Actually, you can hear Tim Farron here now.
What happens at the moment is that when inheritance tax comes upon an estate, the best way to do it very often is to sort of flog off bits of it. So who do you flog it off to? Well, increasingly, it's to private equity, it's to big corporates. And so what you see is a scrubbing out of family farming from the countryside across the whole of the country. But it also means that you're just putting more and more of British land into the hands of people who are not going to farm it, will hold on to it because it's got value for offsetting and what have you. And it's miserable for those families, but it's also really stupid because it undermines Britain's ability to feed itself.
And then we also spoke to Nigel Farage, and this is what he had to say.
Well, here we are. It's Farmer v Starmer today, isn't it? And it's quite strong. You know, this happened under Blair. Over 400,000 people marched on the countryside march. That was to do with hunting specifically. But Blair didn't need to worry about that. The Labour government today needs to worry about this just because of the sheer number of seats that it's got in rural areas. And I think these people feel not just on IHT, they feel when it comes to rewilding, when it comes to nitrates policy, when it comes to, solar farms, it feels like their way of life is under attack, and they're asking why. And frankly, there is no good reason.
Is it anti-British?
What the government are doing? Well, I'll tell you something. Really interesting. All over the world, people say about our country, what amazing countryside you've got, what a beautiful landscape you've got. That's because of these families who in many cases have been doing it for hundreds of years for very little money by modern standards, and they should be supported, not attacked.
Now, in both of those instances, there is this confusion about how much and who will have to pay. Torsten Bell, who is New Labour MP intake, but he used to be the chief exec of the Resolution Foundation, he was lambasting the BBC this morning for claiming that farms worth over £1 million would have to pay inheritance tax, and he was saying that was total rubbish and inherently not true. So I went on gov.uk, and I can confirm that actually if you have a farm that's worth over £1 million and you are single, it will affect you. So Judith, the farmer that I visited in Peterborough on Monday, will be affected. So everything that she told me in the next clip is true.
So it's not about you, it's not about your farm and the fact that you bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax.
Classic BBC there, classic. Oh yeah, it's not the fact that I bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax. The fact.
You told the Sunday Times in 2021 that's why you bought it.
These people.
Sorry?
BBC. Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
I wanted a shoot, okay? That's even worse to the BBC. I wanted a shoot, which comes with the benefit of not having to pay inheritance tax. Now I do. But people like me will simply put it in a trust. And so long as I live for 7 years, that's fine. And as my daughter said, you will live for 7 years. You might be in a deep freeze at the end of it, but you will live for 7 years. But it's incredibly time consuming to have to do that. And why should all these people have to do that? Why should they?
So one of the reasons Rachel Reeves says she brought this in is to stop wealthy people using it as a way
No,
of
that was the
avoiding-
only reason she did.
Well,
Why
no, the other reason was to raise money for public services.
The unfortunate part of this campaign, the farmers do have a fair point, right? If they have to sell off part of their farm, a lot of them are asset rich and cash poor. If they have to sell off part of their farm, they won't be able to pass it on to their children, because say they sell off a field, that field might have a load of straw in it. That means that they now can't feed their cows anymore. The entire farm does become unviable if you break it up into assets. It becomes like a BlackRock project. But unfortunately, there are poster boys like Jeremy Clarkson, who were there yesterday, who do use the system for avoiding inheritance tax. He actually told the Times in 2021 that was the entire reason that he bought the land. And then this was him here yesterday talking to the BBC, attempting to defend that.
We have never been in the black since I got married. So 1989 to now, we have never been in the black. So we live on borrowed money. And I'm not going to tell you how much money we currently borrow. It is obscene, but our assets cover our borrowings, so we feel safe. The inheritance tax may mean that I'm the last generation farmer. It may completely dispel any sort of hope that my children have of carrying on.
So then it just means it's over?
It could well be over. And my son said, Mum, do you realise that you may be the last generation farmer if he doesn't come home and we don't carry on or we're not able to carry on, or even encouraged to carry on and feel valuable, I will be the last generation of farmers. When I can go back, I am a 5th generation farmer. On my side, my husband's side was the 4th generation farmer. And we have made sacrifices. We haven't gone out. We haven't had expensive holidays. We have reinvested and been frugal and speculated to get to where we are now. So it's not without sacrifices, which many other small businesses are the same, but they don't have the capital investment needed to be able to work like we do.
And then there was also just one more, Andrew Lloyd Webber, another fantastic poster boy, who infamously actually flew back from America in 2015 to vote in the House of Lords to push through the government's new austerity measures.
Well, I farm about just under 5,000 acres myself, but I'm not here because of me or anything like that. I'm here to support the small farmers. I mean, they are the absolute salt of the earth. They're the people who really keep our countryside going. I am a passionate, lover of the countryside. In my way, I've done what I can with my farm, which we've farmed now for 40 years, quietly. We don't bang the drum about that. But I'm here to really entirely for the small farmers, not for myself.
Just to say, Jeremy Clarkson came out twice to speak. He was there filming for his new series of Clarkson's Farm. So he came out and gave a speech, and then he turned up again. And I can only posit, I've got no evidence for this, but perhaps the first take for his document.
Was the speech the same?
Pretty much similar, yeah. Maybe the first take wasn't quite what the filming crew were looking for, so he just did it again.
We wanted a different angle.
The SD card corrupted, unfortunately.
Fuck, it's bad when that happens. Yeah, look, this point about the numbers is really, really important. Really important, because if you take an average price per acre of arable land in the UK, which is about 10 grand, so any farm of 100 acres or more is potentially liable for this. And a great deal of farms are bigger than 100 acres. I know that on the one hand of this debate, the NFU, other pressure groups and representative bodies are saying that the government's figures are a million miles out. You talked about Clarkson. I don't know if it was the first or second version of his rally speech that he gave. He got everyone to put their hands up and take them down. And most of the people in the rally left their hands up when they were asked if this was going to affect them directly or not. So both of them can't be right. Someone's got to be wrong in this. And I don't know whether it's the Treasury, I don't know whether it's DEFRA, I don't know whether it's the NFU. But there is clearly, it's very hotly contested how many people this is going to affect.
Which is similar to what they did with winter fuel payments and also national insurance contributions. That's twice that Labour, 2 other examples of them putting out a policy that hasn't been impact assessed or hasn't been properly comms.
They haven't done the groundwork for it at all.
Yeah, and so it's sort of like they get ahead of themselves with this policy that should poll well, right? Something like making millionaires pay tax on their farms. Yes, absolutely, you should do that if you're squirreling money away into land. But if you're a small family farm who's probably running, it's worth about £2 million, but you might be earning, and you're going to think I'm exaggerating, 30 grand a year on that farm.
Less than.
Yeah. So those sort of people shouldn't be penalised.
On that, though, the argument, farmers are earning 13 grand, they're asset rich but cash poor. There's obviously people who are asset poor, cash poor, and earning 13 grand. And these farmers are in a better place than those people. The farmers do surely come under the argument is that they would come under those with the broadest shoulders.
Sure, but it depends if you buy into the argument that Britain should be producing its own food, and if you care about food security. Tim Farron, who the first clip that I played you, he's there talking about Ukraine and what happened during COVID. And if the borders shut down, if you're not able to bring food to the country, where do you get it from?
The 2 points that you guys have both made there is kind of why I'm sort of ambivalent about this as a policy measure, because on the one hand, you're absolutely right. We need to raise taxes. This is a simple fact of the nature of the public finances. Some people have to pay them. I'm not necessarily opposed to farmers having less of an exemption than they have had previously, because they still have exemptions compared to other people in the country. Not least as well because I actually think it does serve a purpose in terms of freeing up land, either for house building, a more atomised, smaller regenerative, small-holding agrarian farming. But on the flip side of it, and it's the point that Ava made, is you are absolutely right. If it was just, if the thing we were talking about was some other industry that led to people being asset rich and cash poor, I would say tax them, find a way to tax them. But it is because they are farmers and the thing that they do is produce the food that we would eat. I think you have to have some kind of protection or exemption for it, because what you do is critical to the survival, in most base terms, of the country.
I think it's also really worth mentioning that the Labour policy is the sort of final straw that broke the farmers' back, because for years now there's been a slew of red tape that's been slapped on farmers that have made it very, very difficult to farm. Things like they've had to all upgrade their tractors, and buying a tractor, I mean, you're lucky if you get one for 70,000. A combine harvester is £500,000, right? There's also God, that was a really important one. What was it? Oh yeah, importing food. So all these fantastic trade deals. So if you can't see me, I've been doing inverted commas, that we've secured around the globe. Things like, trade deals with Australia, the one that we wanted to get with America. Conservative MPs consistently voted to make sure that imported goods did not have to meet domestic standards. And that means that the food that you bring in, say the lamb that's now coming in from Australia, has not had to be produced at the same quality as a British lamb. That means it can be produced cheaper, even though it's flown halfway across the world, which hurts farmers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about welfare standards, right? Which, by the way, I'm very supportive of. I think if you are going to impose the death on an animal so that you can eat it, I think the least you can do is ensure that it has a good quality of life. And so here in the UK, we say animal welfare is important, so we impose a ton of regulation, for example, on like the provision of clean drinking water, clean. There's actually sort of by the square meter space you have to provide, for example, for cows when they're calving, things like that, to provide these animals with a decent quality of life. That's good, but because of that, it means that the cost of these British goods is more expensive. They don't have the same regulation in Australia, which it sounds almost bizarre to say. It's cheaper to ship those steaks halfway around the world and sell them in a supermarket here, because they don't have to impose the same level of animal welfare. So it's catch-22 for the farmers, right? Because they can't sell their goods; they're too expensive. Agents, supermarkets, etc., will just import it, but they can't do They can't do otherwise. It would be illegal for them to do so. So there's call it a cognitive dissonance.
And you'll remember it was Gordon Brown who wanted to protect the milk, the price of milk.
Explain that.
Brown put in a levy on milk to protect it because supermarkets were undercutting farmers. There was a point in time where farmers were essentially paying supermarkets to sell their milk.
They're not doing much better now.
I find the entire thing confusing. By the way, Alex Burkhart, who delivered that wonderful Deputy Prime Minister's questions in Ed's words, he was one of the Conservative MPs who consistently voted to lowering imported standards on food. But one thing I genuinely don't understand. I found the kind of the public reaction to this discussion about farming very confusing, because I get the anger at people squirreling money away. What I don't understand is, when have we been on the side of over-regulation from government and also supermarkets undercutting people who are working very hard? A lot of farmers don't even pay themselves a minimum wage.
Yeah.
I think that's really been left out of the national conversation.
Yeah, totally. Do you think the way that the consensus on the opposite side of this debate for the Labour Party, because as you said, Reform MPs, Lib Dem MPs, Tories, all coalescing around this opposition, do you think that they're doing that because it's politically convenient and they believe that this is a cause that's going to hurt the Labour Party? Or do you actually think that there is consensus across all of those parties when it comes to this issue?
I think that Reform and Liberal Democrats actually do care. And I think that's because, but the Tories have always, look at what they did with Brexit. They've pillaged farmers for years, and the red tape that I've laid out. But a lot of Labour MPs are going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble at the locals because they're representing rural constituencies now, and the farmers are going to be furious. I think that I got really, I was watching Victoria Atkins yesterday. She's now shadow DEFRA, isn't she?
In her Union Jack.
Her Union Jack blazer.
Union jacket, sorry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Union jacket, yeah.
No matching trousers.
She came out and she did a little speech before scurrying away back into Parliament, which, by the way, Nigel Farage didn't do. He stayed out for all 8 hours of that protest.
And that's why he's the man.
Yeah. Anyway, everything that she was fighting against yesterday, everything that she was arguing against was disingenuous because she had been at the helm of introducing all the red tape in the first place.
Is that not just the problem that the Conservatives have in general, though, in opposing this Labour government? Is it just it's like a snake eating its tail? It just goes back to we're trying to fix what you did, ultimately.
Yeah.
God, Burghart's got his work cut out for him.
Oh, brother, does he? Should we have another clip?
Yes.
Roll the clip.
Just a few weeks ago, from that dispatch box, the Minister for Rural Affairs said that he'd been congratulated by a farmer over the introduction of the inheritance tax. Now, I think this farmer must have been a cannabis farmer, because just yesterday we had 10,000 farmers on Whitehall protesting against this madcap decision. So does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that this decision should be thrown in the trash can along with Rachel from Accounts' CV?
Well, Mr. Speaker, he talks about CVs. It's good to see the honourable member doing well on his bench, once a Labour councillor, then a Tory MP, and now a Reform Chief Whip. Every time he switches party, he gets a promotion.
Is Lee Anderson funny?
Yes. That was funny, I must say. The cannabis farm line is good.
Is he Brat?
Yeah, I quite like. Is she smoking the wacky backy? And
Rachel from Accounts.
Rachel from Accounts is also a good
Rachel from Accounts, very funny.
Yep. Reducing the office of the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
First ever female Chancellor of the Exchequer.
to an annoying woman from work.
Yeah.
Which ultimately Rachel Reeves is that to Lee Anderson. She is an annoying woman from work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to say nothing of like the latent misogyny in demeaning her of her position in the great office of state.
Rachel.
She is an annoying woman at work for Lee Anderson, so I guess what he's saying is true.
Well, they're all probably annoying women at work to him.
Yeah, maybe.
Famously no female Reform MPs. The last remaining glass ceiling.
He's very, very thin-skinned, Lee Anderson.
No.
Yeah, he is.
Very thin-skinned.
Yeah, I saw him and Ash getting into some Twitter beef yesterday. See that?
Well, did you watch the video?
I didn't watch it. I saw sort of the screen grab of it and was like, no,
So
don't.
first he starts pushing her microphone away. He's like, no, Navarra, no, I don't. I'm talking to real people.
You, Ash Sarkar, are but an apparition.
Yeah.
I was cursed by a witch.
You are immaterial to me. As he's like hovering like Dr. Manhattan.
Be gone, witch. I want to fall for Bastani's tricks. Look, it's immediate only.
But then someone he's talking to says something really mental. He says like
Overbreeding.
Overbreeding. Yeah. You
Horrible.
can't quite hear what he says, but you hear Ash reacting to it. And Lee obviously just doesn't hear it at all, because why would you hear that?
There's a very
It
good.
would be very inconvenient for him to hear that.
There's a very good.
Oh God, I've got to defend her now.
Yeah.
There's a very good clip of the journalist Will Hayward at the Welsh Reform Conference, where Lee Anderson is talking about how to like save the NHS in Wales, and Will Hayward just goes, "Okay, how?" And he just completely falls apart because he can't articulate what Reform's plan is to save the NHS in Wales, because at the moment they don't have one.
Wrong.
I know you're chomping at the bit.
Okay,
go on.
No, but it's so extensive. I was going to say it's actually so complicated that I can understand why he got confused. It's very extensive.
But Lee Anderson didn't even make an allusion to a plan.
Okay, well, to start with, he
Well,
wants...
we need to go over that with him in comms training.
Yeah. I won't have it.
Ava, note, speak to Lee.
Yeah.
Go on, no, it's voiding of student debt for certain people going into the medical professions, isn't it?
Yeah,
For
bursaries for
staffing.
nurses.
Yeah.
Doctors would have to work in the UK for a certain number of years.
Tax exemptions for private healthcare providers.
They fucking love it, don't they?
Yeah.
They're
We're actually quite deep on Reform's healthcare policy.
yeah.
But it's not Wales specific. I think that was the point Will Hayward was making.
Ah,
they don't
got
have a
you.
Welsh health policy. Should we talk about Rachel from Accounts' CV omission?
Do you wish to call her Rachel from Accounts?
was making a joke. I don't think I'll do it going forward.
It sounded to me like he was calling her Rachel from accounts.
I felt that.
Serious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that a microaggression?
Do you like women?
Do I like women? Not really. That's what what Rachel is to Lee, Ava is to me.
Whoever wants to clip that up, they don't even need the context of Ava teeing it up, because you literally said it yourself. You said, "Do I like women?" No, not really. You've made it so easy for them, Ed. So easy.
But do you know what the beauty of the long form podcast is? It's a hell of a lot of effort to find that.
Not if you get Premiere Pro, whack it in, and then just do transcribe.
But for someone to even find this, for one of my enemies...
Ed's panicking.
No
one could possibly clip this up.
Yeah.
It's too much work.
That's what the Red Scare Pod people say, is that the reason they can get away with saying such awful things is because their enemies aren't going to listen to 60 minutes of discursive hate. So
Ed,
that's what I'm relying on.
Ed, the other day on YouTube, I found a video. It was recommended to me. I didn't go looking for this. That was like off the PoliticsJOE account, actually. It was every time Ava Santina has worn a low-cut top on television.
Holy shit!
Sorry, I should have said it at the end of the podcast, because now everyone's turned this off.
Audience figures have tanked.
We look at the YouTube drop-off rate tomorrow, and it's like,
That's awful. Oh my god. Fuck that.
it's so funny.
Was there one for me and Ollie?
Every time that you've worn like low-cut jeans or something.
Just 90-hour loop, Ed's pocket cam that pointed at Ollie's groin.
That's awful.
So you don't think Rachel Reeves is an economist?
It's not really for... Well, I think...
Because we are actually the arbiters of who is and isn't an economist when we interview them.
Do I think Rach is an economist? Oh, forgot. That's
Ava Santina looks amazing in a low-cut dress.
I look really smug about it as well on the thumbnail. Look how smug I am.
Yeah,
you do look quite smug.
I'm like, I know. It's in HD. Did you see that it notes that it's in HD?
What psychological damage does this podcast do to us all?
It's a lot.
I'm sorry. Are you suffering? Are you suffering?
Ava, that's actually really affected me.
I'm such an ally that I feel aggrieved. So we talk about
Rachel from accounts.
Rachel from accounts.
Go on, brother.
Lied on her CV.
Wait, hang on. What's she wearing?
Low cut.
Yeah.
HD.
God, HD.
Are you familiar with one of the early grime artists called Devilman?
No. Why?
He has a bar that's like, he's rapping about, it's old, it's like 20 years old maybe, and he's talking about like filming a sex tape, and he has a really funny voice. Like really funny. He clashed with Skepta, I don't know. Anyway. And he's like, I put it on camera. It was HD ready. So
it was HD ready.
The reference is obsolete, and I just sound strange. Sorry. Continue, Ed.
That's also in, there's another song that does that. Is it Tiny Temper?
Yeah, Miami to Ibiza.
Yeah.
Two pillars of the grime scene. Swedish Mouse Happier. The Swedish Mouse Happier and Tiny Temper. Miami to Ibiza.
Tell me more about Swedish Mouse Haffier's influence on the Swedish grime scene, please, Ed.
Massive. Well, actually, not massive, because they're tiny, because they're mice.
Laura?
No, let's do Rachel from accounts. Come on.
She's bloody lied in her CV. Now she can't be Rachel from accounts anymore.
Has she lied? Could someone call this up for me?
I think she's over-exaggerated her role as a graduate. But I don't think that role is why she became Chancellor of the Exchequer.
The next clip is about this. Let's listen to the clip, and then we'll use that to tee up our discussion.
Excellent.
Rather than the chat about the Swedish Mouse Happier.
But that was so good.
Roll the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The whole House recognises the authenticity of the Right Honourable Lady's backstory, her pride in being a carer, and indeed in her recent elevation. By contrast, In June, the Chief Constable of Northamptonshire was sacked for misrepresenting his CV. And just last month, Tanya Nasri, the nurse, was imprisoned for 5 years for doing the same. Does the Right Honourable Lady agree with me that such serious consequences are right and just in such cases?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I would say to the honourable gentleman, I know where he's trying to go with this. While it's tempting, what I would say to the honourable gentleman is, the right honourable gentleman, I do apologise. What I would say to the right honourable gentleman is our Chancellor in the last 4 months has shown more competence than the last 4 Chancellors that he had.
But she didn't say our economist, did she?
She did not. Our economist is better than yours. Before we discuss the allegations and whether or not Rachel Reeves will beat them, Christopher Chope looked like he was hanging on for dear life in the background. It was like he was K-holing. My man.
I think we were witnessing him having a stroke. During Ava's really
Get him, Graham!
During Ava's really good reporting about the farmers' protest, the camera wasn't on me, but I was fixed like.
Oh, we've got it again.
You look like a...
Wheel up.
Reload! The Swedish Mouse Happier in the house!
Yeah, we know, but we can.
Great.
Well, we can picture in picture it.
Yeah,
can't we?
absolutely.
Look at him.
Look at that.
Help me!
What do you think he does?
He can't. He's got lockjaw. He goes, Graham, I need help.
Just beside Graham, there's the spectre of Ash Sarkar. The shared delusion of the British right.
She is immaterial. Away, devil! You can't hurt me. What is Tisky Sour? Oh dear. Oh dear. So I mean, I love you guys. It's fun. It's fun.
This is good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
We should do this more often.
Yeah.
Do you not prefer when you're just back at the office doing your meetings or something?
Yeah,
Whatever you're doing
I hate
now.
those fucking meetings. Yeah.
Do you know how many people ask me about your new role?
Really?
So many people ask me about your new role.
So I hope they have good intentions.
What would a bad intention be? That cunt got a new job.
More like Ollie Cuntmore, am I right? No, I don't know. Just like not sincere well wishes rather than scurrilous gossip around the tongue.
Or well, we're not allowed to say his name anymore on the podcast, but someone who works here yesterday got bite your thumb. Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?
I do. I bite my thumb at you, sir.
But he got it wrong. He said, do you bite your tongue at me, sir? Which was the...
I tell you what, it's a wonder Baz Luhrmann didn't actually go with that at the beginning of the film. It would have been more compelling.
The sickest opening scene, just no.
Mercutio. Oh, Mercutio!
I thought it was way more sexual than that, but...
Yeah. There's like a fish tank, and they're like looking at each other through a fish tank?
Yeah.
What, in the Baz Luhrmann?
Yeah.
I don't know if the fish tank was in the original.
No, come on. Are the allegations real?
Rachel, it's great to have you here. You're visiting in the accounts department.
She's updated. She's changed her LinkedIn.
I think it's such a weird thing to do. Why is the Chancellor on LinkedIn for updating her profile?
Professional networking.
She's the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah, engaging with the economists. That's what they all are.
Look, I don't know. I actually haven't properly read the story, but I would be surprised that her friend and colleague Andrew Bailey, who is governor of the Bank of England, wouldn't have pointed that out already. Do you know what I mean?
Her line as Chancellor is, I know how to run the economy. I was an economist in the Bank of England. And if this turns out not to be true, that's her refrain whenever they challenge her on the economy is, I'm an economist. If this is not true, is this like Starmer lying about being the son of a toolmaker? Is it like a crisis of identity? Is it the entire foundation?
The entire Labour front bench is like concocted backstories about like where they've come from and what they did.
Could well be. Ian Murray's not even Scottish.
Possibly. Yeah, I don't. It just feels strange. Like, why? Well, I guess you say, why would you lie?
It would be.
get
It
a
just
job.
feels
Yeah.
like something you'd be found out for.
Way before this, as well.
Because she's spoken to rooms full of business leaders and people who work at the Bank of England and all sorts of economists saying things like, when I was an economist at the Bank of
Yeah,
England.
they don't have like an innate sense.
Yeah, but
it's not
wouldn't
like a
someone
sixth
have
sense
said
to
being
register
like,
an economist.
actually, Rachel, I just saw you in the accounts department. Like, Rachel from accounts. God, that's so funny.
It was. I think it's. She changed her LinkedIn to say that actually she worked in retail banking at Halifax.
Yep.
So-
Is that meant to be? I'm not familiar with how this lot talk to each other, but is that meant to be like a not as good? They're like, oh, you were in retail. Is that like?
I don't know.
It's certainly not being an economist at Halifax.
I call bullshit Ed Campbell. If you interviewed someone who was an expert in retail banking and put it on the PoliticsJOE YouTube channel, what would you call them?
I would call them an economist.
Damn right, brother!
I interviewed
Amen!
a food scientist. They would be an economist. A historian. Did the audience understand this joke? Or are we just like, this is just one for us?
He was a historical economist.
Should I
we
ask
explain
everyone on Raya that I come across that says they work in like an investment bank or private equity? Like,
I thought that app
is
was for
retail
celebrities.
banking? I know.
Why are they on there?
I mean, funny, I know a lot.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke at me.
No.
I'm
I
not
was
the
about to
joke.
defend
No, you're big time, bro. No, I
I'm
mean,
not the joke.
no, you're not the joke. The finance bros on Rare are the joke.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh no, I can't say that. Anyway, yeah.
I saw Talisa on I'm a Celeb said the only dating app she uses is Raya.
Really?
Raya?
I don't know.
Yeah, but she also said she's been celibate for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a
She's had
choice?
cerebral palsy.
I don't know, is it?
Did
she
you say
has.
Did you say cerebral palsy,
dear.
not celibate?
Oh my God, is that what she said? And you think she said celibate?
No, she was talking about how she has to be in a relationship with someone for a long time. They have to connect and share energy.
Or like
She actually said the idea of shagging someone is disgusting to me.
disgusting? Gosh.
Goodness. Well, she's not going to win now, is she? Did you like the revelation that N-dubs stood for NW? Like the postcode?
Yeah, I don't know how I never realised that.
Did you not know that?
No.
No.
That's
How
old
did
news.
you
You're
know
fucking
that?
Scott. What do you mean,
What do you
bro?
So I'm
Do
not
they-
allowed. So I'm not allowed to know about N-dubs.
Do they
What
have-
are you talking about?
Did they have N-dubs in
Of course
Scotland?
we did. I think it was
Okay,
like
sorry.
we were
Laura,
sharing
do you
N-dubs
know
on
who N-dubs
BlackBerry.
are? Okay.
What's your favourite N-dub song?
No. Ask Laura because I don't believe her. I bet
name,
she doesn't.
name 10. Name all the members of N-dubs. Oh, grow up.
You can't name one N-dub song.
No,
Girls.
That's a good one, that isn't
number one.
it? No, isn't that? Yeah.
With N-dubs. Okay.
No, but he's in it. Dappy's in the song.
I think it's everyone though.
That's one of my gym songs.
Is Tiny Temple also on that playlist?
I can just see you.
That's if I'm having a really hard time in the gym.
So
you
you
know,
put
like
it on-
if I do things
you
like
put
I
it on
come on this
Tinchi.
podcast and like the person who shall not be named positions the camera to make me look fat.
Yeah.
What are
Then I have to have
doing
like
back
a
there?
really-
Yeah.
Pipe down. We're doing a podcast in here.
It's a chatty
Sorry, do you
production
guys
team today.
want a microphone?
Yeah, they're desperate for one.
Do you want a microphone?
That guy who always comments day whatever of asking for
I think he's
production
77
microphones,
now.
whacking himself
Yeah,
off
honest-
royal at this. Like,
Honestly,
He's
he's
77.
my case builds further. The critical mass of production microphone is fast approaching.
this is Chernobyl nuclear reactor 4 microphone.
Will we give him a camera? A disembodied voice, like Ash Sarkar.
But the camera on them will just be them on their phones the entire time. Like,
Or the activities that we discussed yesterday.
the only one who actually pays attention is Laura.
Yeah, that's because they all should be paying attention.
Yeah.
Dismissive scope from behind the wall.
Right, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, we've got a whole other clip, man.
All right.
Fuck
Nerd.
no.
I like Lee Anderson talking about the 10,000 farmers being as if we should listen to them, but they don't talk about the Palestine marches like that, do they?
That's very woke of you, Ed.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Take it.
Well, I was very misogynistic on this podcast, so I feel I had to defend my progressive credentials in some way.
I am, in fact, an ally.
Just not of women. Strictly dudes.
If you got an independent Scotland, would you want it to be like in America, where they get to decide like who gets abortion and not, and then outlaw it in Scotland?
Which count? Sorry.
Let me think about that.
If abortion rights are decided at the state level in a federal Scotland, which states are denied access?
In the Commonwealth of East Renfrewshire, would I be advocating for or against
You can only
abortion?
get abortions in Aberdeen, but that's to control every pregnancy from the oil rigs.
So do I want this to be like a weird bastardized Handmaid's Tale where people who work on rigs are we only people who we decided that people who work on rigs are the underclass and can't breed, so they get abortions but no one else does. Is that what we're asking?
To be honest with you, that's not what I was asking. But it's quite revealing that you've gone there.
I think Ava led me down that way. I'm trying to clarify Ava's questions.
Sure thing, pal.
Yeah. Do you know something? It's really interesting that Lee Anderson said that about the farming protests, but he doesn't speak like that about the Palestine protests.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's very interesting. You're right, Ava. It's very interesting. No, great point. Look, I think if the Just Stop Oil lot, seriously, if the Just Stop Oil lot got in tractors and drove them over a police line, you know what the media coverage would be.
Yeah, are they fucking electric or not? That would be the...
Do you know what the farmers should do? Stop buying big tellies, and then they could afford inheritance tax. Stop wasting your money on big televisions and iPads and designer clothes and private schools. Then you can pay inheritance tax.
You can spend your money on private schools. You can't spend your money on coffee.
Or avocado. If we grew avocados, then Labour would listen to us.
Tell you what, the avocado I ate in Miami, that's what it's meant to taste like.
Yeah, avocado can taste so horrible.
The avocado that we're eating over here, might as well eat a pear, honestly.
Oh, pears are nice.
Pears are nice.
All right.
Pears are nicer than avocados?
Yeah, but...
Amen.
Agree. We support British produce. You support... Are avocados not insanely bad for the environment?
Yeah.
I don't think if they come from Spain, they're okay for the environment. They're bad if they come from South America.
They're talking to each other.
Yeah, honestly. What are they doing? Talking about Sean and the one who can't be named are tickling each other.
I wanted to talk about how much we like pears.
Yeah? Is that in the last clip?
Let's find out. Roll the clip.
Sir Edward Lee.
Today is Red Wednesday, in which we remember all those persecuted for their belief worldwide. A recent report by Aid to the Church in Need shows that in the countries surveyed, persecution of minorities has increased by 60%. In the light of this, will the government commit to reappointing the Prime Minister's Special Envoy for Freedom of Religion and Belief, a post that has remained vacant since July, and do that as soon as possible, hopefully by Christmas, so that we in the United Kingdom can play our part in defending religious and belief minorities worldwide.
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. We are committed to champion human rights, including the right to freedom of religion or belief. I join the right honourable member in marking Red Wednesday, an important moment to show support for all those persecuted around the world for their religion or belief. And today we'll light up the FCDO buildings in the UK in red in support of that, Mr Speaker. Envoy roles are under consideration, will be decided upon in due course.
Edward Lee there. Ava.
Well, he's not talking about us. He's talking about the other church, the fake one.
Right. Is that in the spirit of Red Wednesday?
I think he probably is talking about you, though.
No.
Yes, of course he is.
I reckon he might be. What do you think, Sean? Do you think he's...
I think Catholicism is a religion.
Yeah, I know. But he's talking about Christmas.
She's saying Protestantism isn't a religion.
No, I know, but I don't think that has relevance to what Edward Lee's saying. I think she's just getting that point out there.
Huh?
I think you're just wanting to make a point about
Sorry, is that why you chose that clip? Because
Yes.
you wanted to say that Protestantism isn't a religion.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
It was mental. We're not allowed to say that about
I will say it all day long.
about Catholicism.
Religion is dumb.
Not in
No, not religion.
Stasi.
Oh,
Not
does that bother you,
religion.
did it?
I'm just I'm saying
No, Anglicanism.
I'm saying you can't take a religion, right, as king and then decide that actually you want to be the head of it. And then,
Well, like the Pope does.
he's not a king, he's appointed by God. You're laughing at me on Red Wednesday.
You started this.
I hope that some really right-wing evangelical channel picks this up and doesn't edit where I'm like, I'm trying to talk to you about the Pope and you're just lambasting me.
Right. Would they be pro or anti that?
Who?
Religion is silly.
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 Stop that.
I think it provides people with a large amount of faith.
Yeah, well,
Or
that's,
comfort.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think it is nice.
I think it's good that it does that.
You've all got something to believe in. You believe that fleece looks nice on you.
Fucking hell. Wow.
I like that, please.
Thank you, Ed.
Just on someone else.
Maybe I don't like coming on this podcast.
We've gone full circle.
And we are right back.
Do we have anything else to add about Red Wednesday? Or is it just that, do we have to defend
I became aware
Anglicanism?
of Red Wednesday about 3 minutes ago.
Okay. I did wonder why Ava wanted to include this clip in the rundown.
That was all.
Right, okay, brilliant.
You're doing comms for Reform and the Vatican.
Look, I pick.
The
I pick
causes.
winners. I pick winners.
Well, that was fun.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
Do you think we'll see Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall back at the dispatch box?
I don't know. It depends what other no-name they've got coming up next.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ava.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for participating.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.